By the stars, the monster just purred. Captain Thin of the Z and Galactic Patrol stared at the screen, disbelief and confusion clear on his angular green face. His eye stalks quivered in what could only be described as a mix of fear and curiosity. On the screen, in the middle of the cargo bay, sat the creature, a small, furry quadruped with slitted eyes and an expression that was both lazy and calculating. Thin turned to his lieutenant, Clor, who was equally perplexed. "What do you make of this, Clor?" Thin asked. "The beast looks so unassuming." Clor, whose primary task was identifying unknown life forms, ran his claws over the control panel, bringing up all available data on the creature. According to the database, it's an unclassified entity. It was found in the wreckage of that human ship we salvaged. All signs point to it being a pet, but it just devoured that energy rod like it was nothing. Thin interjected, his voice rising with alarm. "Our weapons can barely make a dent in those things." Clor nodded, his eyes narrowing. "Exactly, Captain. That's why we need to be cautious. This could be some sort of bioweapon the humans engineered." The creature, oblivious to the scrutiny, yawned widely, displaying sharp teeth that sent a shiver down Thin's spine. It then curled up into a ball and began to emit a rhythmic, soothing sound. "There it goes again with that strange noise," Thin muttered. "What's it doing?" Clor hesitated before responding, his voice tinged with both wonder and concern. "I believe it's calming itself, or perhaps us, as a form of manipulation." "Manipulation?" Thin recoiled, his eye stalks shooting straight up. "We can't allow it to gain control over our emotions. Send for a team of scientists immediately. We need to understand what we're dealing with." The scientists arrived in short order, a group of serious-faced Laxan who approached the creature with extreme caution. They set up an array of instruments around it, measuring everything from its energy emissions to its metabolic rate. "It's not emitting any harmful radiation," reported one scientist, a grizzled veteran named Vor. "In fact, its energy signature is quite low. It's consuming a minimal amount of resources for a creature of its size." "Could it be masking its true nature?" Thin asked, his eyes never leaving the screen. "Unlikely," Vor responded, scratching his chin with a claw. "If it were capable of such deception, we would detect fluctuations in its bioreadings. It's just a simple creature." As the scientists continued their analysis, the humans from the salvage ship were brought aboard for questioning. Among them was Lieutenant David Harris, a calm and collected officer with a reputation for handling first-contact situations with aplomb. Harris was led to the bridge, where Thin and Clor awaited him. "Human, what is that creature in our cargo bay?" Thin demanded, pointing to the screen where the animal now lay sprawled out, its belly exposed. Harris looked at the screen and chuckled. "Oh, you mean Whiskers. He's harmless." "Harmless?" Thin echoed, incredulous. "It consumed an energy rod and displays behaviors we cannot comprehend. Explain this, cat, to us." Harris smiled, realizing the misunderstanding. "Cats are domesticated animals from Earth. They're kept as pets. They're not engineered bioweapons or apex predators, just companions. The purring you hear is a sign of contentment." Thin and Clor exchanged dubious glances. "This contentment?" Clor ventured. "Is it a form of psychological warfare?" Harris shook his head, still smiling. "No, it's just their way of showing they're happy. Cats have been living with humans for thousands of years. They're very good at surviving, but they're not dangerous to us." Despite Harris' reassurances, the Zeans remained cautious. They observed Whiskers for several more cycles, documenting its behavior meticulously. The cat, meanwhile, adapted quickly to its new environment, exploring the cargo bay with curiosity and even approaching the scientists, rubbing against their legs and purring louder. Captain Thin watched these interactions with a mix of fascination and bewilderment. "Human," he said to Harris during one of their many discussions. "How can such a small creature inspire such fear and confusion among our ranks?" Harris shrugged. "Cats have a way of getting under your skin. They're mysterious, independent, and sometimes, yes, a bit intimidating. But once you understand them, they're quite endearing." Thin pondered this. Perhaps it is not the creature itself that is the threat, but our ignorance of it. "Exactly," Harris agreed. "Understanding is the key. Once you get to know Whiskers, you'll see he's just looking for a comfortable place to sleep and a good meal." As days turned into weeks, the Zean fear of Whiskers gradually turned to curiosity and then to affection. The scientists even started to take turns feeding HFY laughing at his antics and marveling at his agility and grace. One day, as Finn observed Whiskers chasing a small ball the scientists had given him, he turned to Harris with a rare smile. "Perhaps we have much to learn from you humans, Lieutenant. This creature, this cat, has taught us more about ourselves than any other encounter." Harris nodded, a twinkle in his eye. "That's the thing about cats, Captain. They have a way of making us see the world differently, even if it's just through their eyes." Whiskers had become an unexpected ambassador, his antics bridging the cultural chasm between humans and Zeons. The once feared monster was now a beloved fixture on the ship, and his presence opened the door to deeper understanding between the species. Captain Finn and Lieutenant Clore spent many hours in discussion with Lieutenant Harris, delving into the intricacies of human culture and the role of animals within it. One day, as Finn observed Whiskers stalking a small robotic toy that one of the scientists had constructed, he turned to Harris with a thoughtful expression. "Tell me, Lieutenant, do all human creatures exhibit such, complex behavior?" Harris chuckled. "Not all of them, but cats are particularly interesting. They're independent yet affectionate, mysterious yet straightforward. They have a way of making us slow down and appreciate the simple things in life." Finn nodded, his eye stalks focusing on Whiskers, who was now batting the toy around with evident delight. It is remarkable how a creature so small can command such attention and admiration. Just then, the ship's communication system chimed, and Corin's voice crackled through. "Captain, we have an incoming transmission from the High Council. They wish to speak with you immediately." Finn's expression shifted to one of concern. "Patch it through to the bridge," he ordered. The holographic image of High Chancellor Zarak appeared, his regal bearing unmistakable. "Captain Finn, we have received reports of an unknown entity aboard your vessel." "Explain this at once." Finn straightened his eye stalks, unwavering. "Chancellor, the entity in question is a domesticated animal from the human ship we salvaged. It poses no threat to our crew or the ship. In fact, it has proven to be quite beneficial in fostering understanding between our species." Zorasi's eyes narrowed. "Beneficial, you say? This is most unusual. We have little experience with such creatures. Is it true that it consumed one of our energy rods?" "Yes, Chancellor," Finn admitted, "but it appears to have done so out of curiosity rather than malice. The humans assure us that this behavior is typical of their species' pets." Zorasi's image flickered as he processed this information. "Very well, Captain. We will trust your judgment for now. However, I expect regular updates on this situation. The Council is most interested in the implications of this encounter." Finn bowed his head respectfully. "Of course, Chancellor. We will keep you informed." As the transmission ended, Finn turned to Harris, his expression a mix of relief and determination. "It seems your Whiskers has garnered the attention of our leaders. We must ensure that his presence continues to be seen as a positive influence." Harris nodded. "I understand, Captain. I'll make sure Whiskers stays out of trouble." In the days that followed, Whiskers' charm continued to win over the Zeon crew. He had a particular fondness for lounging in the control room, where the gentle hum of the ship's system seemed to soothe him. The crew members, initially wary, now vied for the opportunity to feed him or play with him during their breaks. One evening, as the ship cruised through a particularly beautiful stretch of nebula, Finn invited Harris to join him in the observation deck. Whiskers, naturally, followed, hopping up onto the railing and gazing out at the swirling colors with what seemed like feline appreciation. "Lieutenant," Finn began, "I must admit, I was skeptical at first, but Whiskers has become a valuable part of our mission. He has shown us that not all unknowns are threats and that there is much we can learn from each other." Harris smiled, looking at the content cat. "I'm glad to hear that, Captain. It's true, cats have a way of bridging gaps. They remind us of the importance of companionship and understanding." As they watched the nebula together, the ship's alert system suddenly blared, and Corin's urgent voice came through the comms. "Captain, we're detecting a massive energy surge on the outskirts of the nebula. It's unlike anything we've seen before." Finn and Harris rushed back to the bridge, Whiskers trotting behind them. The view on the main screen showed a brilliant flash of light followed by a wave of energy that rippled through space. "What is it?" Finn demanded. Corin's fingers flew over the controls. "It appears to be some kind of spatial anomaly. We're behind." He pulled towards it, initiating evasive maneuvers. The ship shuddered as it attempted to break free from the anomaly's grasp. Whiskers, sensing the tension, jumped into Harris' arms, his eyes wide with alarm. Is there anything we can do? Harris asked, his voice steady despite the rising panic. We need to stabilize the ship, Corin replied, his eye stalks darting across the control panels. Chlor, divert all available power to the engines. As the crew worked frantically, Whiskers suddenly leapt from Harris' arms into the main console. The cat's paws danced over the controls, seemingly at random, yet the ship's systems responded. The anomaly's pull weakened, and the ship began to regain control. What in the galaxy? Finn stared in astonishment as Whiskers continued to tap at the controls. Is he piloting the ship? Harris watched in awe. I have no idea how he's doing it, but it looks like he is. With one final press of his paw, Whiskers stabilized the ship's trajectory, and the anomaly faded from view. The bridge fell silent, the only sound the soft hum of the ship's systems and the steady purr of Whiskers. Finn turned to Harris, his expression one of profound respect. Lieutenant, it seems your Whiskers is more than just a pet. He may very well be a guardian. Harris, equally stunned, nodded slowly. It appears so, Captain. It appears so. As the crew processed what had just happened, Whiskers curled up on the console, his mission accomplished. The Zeons had feared him as a monster, but now they saw him as something far more extraordinary. A friend and protector in the vast, unpredictable galaxy. The anomaly's effects had left the crew both shaken and awed. Whiskers had performed an incredible feat, and the Zeons were eager to understand how such a small, seemingly insignificant creature could save their ship. Captain, we must investigate this further, Corin said, his eyes fixed on Whiskers, who was now calmly grooming himself on the console. This cat possesses abilities we cannot explain. Finn nodded, still processing the miraculous turn of events. Agreed. Harris, can you shed any light on this? Have humans ever documented such behavior in cats? Harris shook his head, equally perplexed. Not to my knowledge. Whiskers is just an ordinary cat. There's no record of cats displaying any kind of advanced understanding of technology or space phenomena. This is as surprising to me as it is to you. Finn pondered for a moment. Perhaps there is something about this environment or the anomaly itself that triggered this behavior. We must study Whiskers and the anomaly further. The Zeon scientists, with Harris' cooperation, began a thorough examination of Whiskers. They scanned him with every available instrument, analyzing his brain activity, genetic makeup, and even his reactions to various stimuli. Despite their efforts, they found nothing out of the ordinary. Whiskers was, by all accounts, a typical Earth feline. Meanwhile, the ship maintained a safe distance from the anomaly, monitoring its activity. The crew continued their daily routines, albeit with a new sense of reverence for their furry savior. Whiskers had become a symbol of hope and curiosity, inspiring the Zeons to approach the unknown with a more open mind. One day, as the scientists were conducting yet another round of tests, Whiskers began to act strangely. He paced back and forth, his tail flicking with agitation. Harris watched with concern. Something's bothering him, Harris said. Finn, observing from the bridge, frowned. What could it be? The anomaly has been stable for days. As if on cue, the anomaly began to pulse with energy. The ship's sensors picked up a sudden surge, similar to the one that had initially drawn them in. Corin, quickly analyze the readings, Finn ordered. The anomaly is becoming unstable again, Corin said. We need to move the ship to a safer distance. Before they could act, Whiskers darted out of the lab and headed straight for the control room. The crew watched in astonishment as the cat jumped onto the main console once more, his paws moving with purpose. He's doing it again, Finn whispered, his eyes wide with disbelief. Harris stood by, ready to assist but trusting Whiskers' instincts. The cat's movements were precise, and the ship's systems responded, adjusting course and rerouting power as needed. It was as if Whiskers had an innate understanding of the ship's controls and the anomaly's behavior. The ship shuddered as it maneuvered away from the anomaly, but this time the process was smoother. Whiskers continued his efforts until the ship was at a safe distance. The anomaly's instability eventually subsided, leaving the crew in awe of the cat's actions. Finn approached Harris, his expression a mix of respect and curiosity. Lieutenant, it seems Whiskers has saved us once again. How can we explain this? Harris knelt beside Y, Skurs, scratching behind his ears. I don't know, Captain. Maybe it's intuition or something beyond our understanding. Whiskers seems to have a connection with the anomaly, or perhaps with the ship itself. Chlor, who had been analyzing the data, spoke up. Captain, there's something else. The anomaly's energy patterns bear a striking resemblance to certain frequencies observed in Whisker's brain activity. It's possible that the anomaly and Whiskers are somehow linked. Finn considered this. Could it be that Whiskers is not just an ordinary cat, but a bridge between our world and the anomaly? Harris nodded slowly. It's possible. Cats have always had a mysterious quality about them. Perhaps Whiskers is more than just a pet. Maybe he's a guardian, a protector of sorts. The crew agreed, and from that moment on, Whiskers was no longer just a companion. He had become an integral part of their journey through the stars, a small creature with the heart of a protector. As the ship continued its voyage, the crew marveled at the mysteries they had yet to uncover, knowing that with Whiskers by their side, they could face any challenge that lay ahead. The cat had proven that sometimes, the smallest creatures could have the most profound impact on the universe.